Well, what I want to see is them treat it with the same reverence that they treat, because when you hand them hand them your watch to try something on, it doesn't matter how trashed it is. They are professionals. They hold it. They treat it. They get gloves are on. It goes onto the tray, and I just want to see them see the giant yellow manhole cover of an Invicta, just in the gloves, set onto the fine leather tray.
Greetings and welcome to this week's aBlogtoWatch Weekly. It appears that only one of us got the memo from last week about dressing up in multiple brands, and that person is most obviously Ripley. Morning, Ripley.
Good morning.
Tell us about which brands. In fact, folks, you just need to go on the YouTube channel and you need to have a look at what Ripley. He has managed to Pantone match Beauvais and Zodiac by the looks of it. Yeah, that's a lot of blue you're wearing this morning, Ripley.
Well, I was wearing the shirt and I was looking to see which hat I would choose, and lo and behold, in the exact same shade, we have one from Beauvais.
It's
a classy blue.
It's a collaboration we're all waiting for. Ariel, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. I actually have been thinking about this watch costume, and we have enough. I was really thinking about like the really weird bits and pieces, like if I had like a robe and the jackets I could wear, like the t-shirt and hat. I think people need to understand we have so many watch brand hats. I don't have enough people I know to wear all these hats.
Oh yeah. Same
earmuffs, watch brand earmuffs is what we need.
But I think what we need to do is usually when we go on trips, we're very sensitive, like, oh, we don't want to wear the swag of another brand. Now I think we should just actually lean into that and make sure that like all of our wardrobe is just watch brand stuff. Be like, hint, hint, if you give me something, I'll wear it, brand.
What would you suppose, David, at Watches and Wonders would be the most inappropriate brand to wear into the most inappropriate meeting?
Most inappropriate brand to wear into a meeting?
Yeah, so you've got a meeting with X and you would wear Y brand just to upset as many people as possible.
A Rolex at an Omega meeting for sure.
Rolex at an Omega meeting.
That's the top of the top, yeah.
Is that and any stories of strange sideways glances because you realise you wore something into somewhere else, Ariel, Ripley?
If it's really bad, they will tell you about it. They don't want you to talk about it on a podcast years later, but they do tell you in your face that that's just not right.
Yeah, some brands do not care at all. In fact, they're happy. They're like, yeah, I want to see what you guys choose to wear. And then other brands are very weird about it. They're like, how dare you wear that name in this the sanctified halls of this brand? You do know what they've done to us? Like, some of them get like really nutso about it, and sometimes they're just like grinding their teeth, like, "Oh, really?" And then journalists sometimes get really sensitive, like, "Oh, I don't want to offend them. I'm not sure what to wear." It actually is a very funny part of what we do. At the end of the day, you should be able to wear whatever the hell you want, wherever the hell you go. Isn't that sort of the point of these crazy watches? It's like, I dare you to wear it
Should
there.
Be. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if any of the brands want to give me a watch, I will happily wear it in any of my meetings with them. But, I just don't have a Jacob & Co. And I'm not able to afford 1.7 million or 3.5 million or whatever they are these days. And so I'll have to wear whatever I own.
I feel like if there was going to be a Beauvais Seawolf, it would be the watch that a modern day pirate leader would wear.
I desperately want the Beauvais Seawolf now. Thanks, Ripley.
Yeah. You have to be a very unscrupulous individual and have had a lot of death under your guard to qualify to wear a Beauvais Seawolf. It is a very bad person's timepiece, but it's fun to play with the idea.
It would have to be one of those transforming Beauvais. They had those that would go from a wristwatch to a pocket watch to a table clock. This would transform from sea to wolf.
So from timepiece to deadly weapon?
Maybe. Yeah, something like that. I'm sure they would
Don't make me activate my sea wolf.
Which one is it, sea or wolf? Well, I only can hope to live the day when it becomes...
All right, you'll get the salty bite.
Excellent. So, I mean, if you were to wear, I'm just trying to think about how bad you could be. I mean, Omega Rolex is probably pretty bad. I'll grant you that. Do you think it's worse to wear an Omega to a Rolex meeting or a Rolex to an Omega meeting?
Rolex to Omega, by far. You know, if you wear an Omega to a Rolex meeting, they're just going to look at you and...
They're just sorry for you.
Okay, fine. But
you could wear a Rolex to a Rolex meeting and they don't care.
So actually, are Rolex the brand that care the least, that are just like, we're so over this, whatever you're wearing,
pretty much
just couldn't join our club?
I want to wear one of those like 55 millimeter Invictas to like a Patek Philippe or Vacheron meeting or something like that.
Well, Ariel, I have a 65 millimeter Invicta that you are welcome to borrow anytime.
They make up to 65 millimeter ones? Where have I been?
Yeah. It's bigger than the rims on my Honda. It's enormous. I'm so happy someone thought of that. Really. Yeah.
But because you always get to that moment in these meetings when the salespeople have finished giving you their spiel, and so they're kind of desperately seeking around as to what to do next, and so it inevitably comes to the, what is it you're wearing on your wrist? Can I try it on stage? As you're taking off your 65mm Invicta to let the guy at Grand Seiko booth try it on and examine. Oh, it's very nice. You're just waiting for them to say something asinine and zero commentary on it.
Well, what I want to see is them treat it with the same reverence that they treat, because when you hand them your watch to try something on, it doesn't matter how trashed it is. They are professionals. They hold it. They treat it. Gloves are on. It goes onto the tray, and I just want to see them see the giant yellow manhole cover of an Invicta, just in the gloves, set onto the fine leather tray.
I think there's one of those TV shows, one of those kind of got ya TV shows in the works, whereby the journalists all arrive into the booths all wearing the most horrific watches, and the staff in the booth are secretly filmed the reactions as we try and pass off these horrific watches as being the latest and greatest thing that we found at Watches and Wonders or in Switzerland that week, as we watch the face of the Oris guy going, what on earth is going on here? And see if we can cajole him into going along with it. These things being great.
Can I point out that this type of humor is just about as esoteric as the comedy between like physicists? Like the number of people that understand this joke is so small. The audience, of course. I'm just saying, you're layperson. If you're like, we're going to wear this into an Oris meeting to see what happens. I'm just like, what is that? Why do you care?
I accept that this is not the kind of humour that's going to fill Madison Square Garden.
They did what at the Oris meeting? They wore the Swatch to do what?
Hi, I'm Ariel Adams from aBlogtoWatch. I'd like to tell you about Bezel, the modern app for buying and selling authenticated high-end watches. Bezel isn't like other platforms. Bezel was designed exclusively for today's timepiece collectors and enthusiasts, offering choice, convenience, safety, and service. In addition to personally authenticating each timepiece sold on the marketplace, Bezel also offers a personal concierge service to walk you through any part of the watch buying or selecting process. Want something not currently listed on Bezel? Their concierge service is happy to seek one out for you. Buying and selling a watch can be scary as well as challenging, especially with all the options out there today. Bezel uses a modern, intuitive interface to deliver a class-leading technology experience that makes it simple and fun to search through available watches or list one you currently want to sell. Try Bezel today and discover what others like you are already excited about. Get the Bezel app or use the getbezel.com website. That's GetBezel.com. Thanks.
Right, well, let's decide where we're going to start this week. It's a weird week this week. It doesn't feel like there's been any real watch releases to hang our hat on, but let's try and hang our hat on something from an event that is soon to be up and coming. New releases, Swatch Olympic Games Paris 2024
I already feel
watches.
bad for the Parisians.
Yeah, as if they didn't have enough waste disposal problems in general Paris suburbs normally, getting rid of the refuse.
Every time they see this, I imagine that like your average Parisian is like, Swatch Group, please stop calling attention to this thing. We don't want this many people here. Watch from TV, please.
This week has also seen a teaser of something new in the Swatch Omega line. I don't know if you gentlemen have seen that and have any thoughts on it. While I scroll down these images, have you seen the teasers that have been running?
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's cryptic as usual, something space related as usual, probably something bioceramic, I'd imagine. Yeah.
More plastic. Is it just me, or is the teaser really, really badly done? It's the worst.
It's really bad.
Watching it, the graphics look horrific. I've used this. It does look like it's been designed by the intern, quite literally. But the question is, do these watches look like they've also been done by the intern? Remember Variety, Ripley, you had the pleasure of doing the article on this. What stood out?
I think all these watches already came out about 30 years ago, by the way.
Yeah.
They're just recycling. Like, no one remembers this stuff.
Yeah. When was the last time the Olympics were in Paris? Like 1960 or something? They've been in Paris before, at least once.
Well, Ariel might have a point. We don't even actually need to recycle the previous Paris branded, because if you look at the watches themselves, the Paris branding's pretty noticeably absent from it. Even the tie-ins to the sports that they're related to are pretty minimal. It's really almost just on like the keepers and the straps. So maybe these were, designs that didn't get the green light for some summer collection.
Yeah, like I'm not joking. These have nothing to do with Paris or the Olympics or today.
Do you think these are maybe designed so that you can remove the straps of the stock that hasn't sold and maybe put some other straps on?
There's a little Paris logo, Paris Olympics, right on the wheel.
That's clearly added after the fact. Okay, that's not part of the design, so to say. No designer would be like, "Oh, this is the perfect spot to mention it."
Yeah, so these are kind of interesting. We've got the green one, which is dedicated to, I believe, surfing. The blue chrono, which is dedicated to skateboarding. The pink one
Huge
is for
Olympic
volleyball.
Huge Olympic sports.
You'd so know that by seeing the watch, right? It's so clearly obvious.
Nothing makes any sense here. Anything. It's just random. Totally random.
And then the children's watch is a mix of the Paralympics and the Olympic Games. Is kind of the both one.
Isn't there a better AI now that can run Swatch? Can't they get rid of the old one that they've been using? All the new technology out there. Isn't IBM Watson to the rescue? Something. Come on.
Honestly, I think that would be the first time AI broke down. When they saw the Excel sheet of all the previously existing Swatch references, they were like, oh, everything has been done already. And it would just break. It's like impossible to come up with anything.
And what's it with this 4 design? Did they not think about what it would look like when you tilted it?
That's actually a small diagram from the Paris Metro map.
Exactly.
That's what that is. A small element from that they pulled out.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. And exactly where do you go surfing in Paris?
The river.
Yeah, well known. The Seine, well known for its high tidal bores. What do we think of Olympic watches and those kind of tie-ins? Has there ever been a good Olympic tie-in watch?
Yes, the 1964 Seiko World Time GMT. That watch, 1964, Seiko turned it out hard. That watch is awesome, still beautiful today. Other than the case back emblem, there's nothing about it that would really indicate Olympics other than the light colorways on the accents. World Timer makes sense for the theme of the Olympics. Beautiful piece. That's class. In modern years, so here's kind of my problem with the Olympics watches. There's a fine line to walk between making something that's completely novel and fun and cheerful, and which a thematic piece should be, and then something that's like expensive to the point where you would kind of just spend that money on something else. And so a lot of the pieces Omega does, I'm sure they have their collectors, but they're quite expensive objects. And I don't know if I'd actually purchase them over one of the brand standard production models. With the Swatches, they're like $100 less. For some of them, I think the Chrono's a little bit more, like 160 or something like that. But this is sort of proper fun territory where I almost wish they were a little bit more adventurous with the design and put like a skateboard chronograph hand or something, because it's a cheap purchase. Then you could have something that's like very branded and not feel like you sunk a ton of cash into
it. Any other contributions to the world of?
I mean, look, the thing is this: it seems that every time there's an Olympics year, Omega's like product team has this mandate of like, we need 30 products. We don't care what they are, but we need 30
no
products.
matter what. Yes.
Yeah, and they sort of space them out. A bunch come out before the Olympics, a bunch like right before, during the Olympics, maybe a few after the Olympics, maybe some in an off year, but they just keep coming out with them. There doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason. Once in a while, there'll be sort of a fun connection with the hosting city, right? That's sort of a good thing. None of them have anything to do with the actual Olympics in any way. Like if you love the Olympics, you're not going to be like, that's the watch.
Yes. Ariel, you're right. The Japan Omega Planet Ocean that was like all white with the red and was like inspired by the rising sun flag. I thought that was pretty cool. But again, that's a Japan Omega. The Olympics are tangential at that point. Like, yeah.
And it's some of them make no sense whatsoever. I mean, there's the one that's 100 days until the Olympics. That's relevant for a day. You know, that watch is in honor to that particular date in the calendar when it's just 100 days to the Olympics, and then tomorrow it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You know,
and like, what do you do on that day? Nobody gives you like free money or sends you medals or something. Like, it's just a day.
Nobody cares. So random.
I mean, we have to have a whole episode on the arbitrary anniversaries that this industry has forced us to care about. I mean, every single 3 days, there's some anniversary that's over 100. They're getting ridiculous. It's the 135th anniversary of the first time that we made a gear. It's like, no one but you cares about that. Please have some better reason to make a watch.
It's the 35th anniversary. That's my favorite. It just doesn't make any sense. Nobody cares. It has absolutely no relevance.
At least they're not doing it every year. Imagine if every year is like, oh, it's the 74th anniversary. So, oh, God.
No, but now we're celebrating like the 5th anniversary of the revival of. It's kind of like with movies where it's the sequel to the remake, but this is the reboot franchise. You know, where we've now reached a few levels of separation. So I feel like our new anniversaries are going to start celebrating previous anniversaries. So it'll be, instead of the 50th, you know, they can't really do that. So it'll be the 10th anniversary of that thing that was revived, you know, 36 years ago. You know, it'll get a little dicey.
I'll just sidetrack this for a moment. Ripley, you mentioned this Rising Sun Speedmaster.
Seamaster, Planet Ocean, right?
Maybe. I Googled it and I was like, okay, Rising Sun Omega. I wasn't sure if you said Seamaster or Speedmaster. I just didn't have an image in front of me at all. I couldn't imagine what that watch was like. So I started Googling and there's a picture of the watch on my wrist. So it's like, I have actually seen it, but I totally forgot it. And it's now on backwatchdepartment.com, who are tried to sell their watch, and they actually sold it with my picture. So shout out to them for stealing my picture. But it's
Thief of the week.
Yes.
So what website is this? Send us the link,
I
David.
have seen this watch, but apparently I forgot. So thank you for mentioning that. So does it ever happen to you guys that you find out that you have actually taken pictures of a watch that you totally forgot?
I've written whole articles about watches I forgot. I'm like, I've never heard of this. Wait a minute, there's a whole hands-on. Basically, there's some number, like every 500 or 600 watches you see, one of them is eliminated from your memory. So this is why you should never sell a watch, because if you collect watches for long enough and you forget about them, you can go back to watches that you own in your own collection. Be like, wow, I had no idea about this. So if you're bored of a watch, just bury it in the ground and set a calendar reminder to dig it up 7 or 10 years from now, and it'll be like you've never owned it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And actually, as it turns out, this is for the 2020 Olympics, this Rising Sun watch, but it came out in 2018.
365, so 700 and however many days before the Olympics.
Well, if they launched all 30 SKUs on the one day of the Olympics, it would be overwhelming. So you got to space it out. And at a certain point, some of the less engaging designs might get 756 days or whatever until launch.
Well, it seems only appropriate that the next watch we should talk about is another one reviewed by Ripley, and it is the Citizen Promaster 35th anniversary land, sea, and air watches. There you go. Discuss. Ripley, what do you make of these?
So I mean, the diver is basically just a new colorway of this watch. Their diver, though, is it the Fujisubo that we've seen before? And
the Fujitsubo.
Yeah.
The Barnacle.
Yeah, the Barnacle, the one that was, the 1970s challenge diver that was found on the beaches of Australia, and then it was still running, and then they've revived that model. And then this colorway is inspired by the beaches where the watch was found. It's not really a new watch, a new colorway. Same thing goes for the aviation model. It's basically like the Skyhawk AT, the current integrated bracelet version. For me, the exciting model here is that Land Series one. From what I understand, it's got a new offering for them, a new movement. It's got the digital screen on it that will show like a graphical representation of its like ability to charge itself almost. Like a light meter, if you will. So in my opinion, that's kind of the most interesting one, but it is for the 35th anniversary. So I don't know if we are going to be seeing a new one for the 36th or 37th.
Was it the 35th anniversary of exactly this diver watch being found?
No, the Promaster collection. And so since the Promaster collection itself is divided among sea, land, and air, so are these anniversary pieces.
Right, I see, and that obviously makes perfect sense. Is, Ariel, you've already posted the 35th anniversary is the most ridiculous anniversary. I think I'm inclined to agree, unless anyone can come up with a more ridiculous anniversary number to celebrate. 35.
I actually don't want to talk about anniversaries ever again. I want them to have a press release on why the original thing was cool and to stop using the word anniversary. They can say the date. I'm just saying, like, the reason they're attracted to anniversaries, for a long time, people would buy watches when it's been one of their own anniversaries, like, right? When they have like a work anniversary, a relationship anniversary, people would celebrate themselves and their own anniversaries by buying a watch. And brands would hear about it because someone would talk about their anniversary. So they're like, wait a minute, people don't have enough anniversaries to celebrate. What if we came up with some more for them to buy watches around? And that's what this is all about. This is about them trying to create an occasion. So I celebrate the fact that there's these good stories to talk about, but the word anniversary just needs to stop being used because I mean, we know watch collectors. We're them. We talk with them. No one's like, guys, do you know what anniversary is coming up? I'm so excited to celebrate. That's never happened. Nobody cares about that. So we like those old stories, but this arbitrary number of years that has passed since them is just a strategy for brands to create watches and some type of arbitrary reason to buy them.
Okay, well, you can go and put into the show notes of that particular article what anniversary you think is particularly irrelevant, the most irrelevant anniversary we can think of.
This is Ariel Adams of aBlogtoWatch here with a message from watch retailer and distributor Greddens of Newport about a fantastic watchmaker and where you can find them in the United States. Alexander Shorokhov is an esteemed Russian watchmaker who produces handcrafted timepieces from his home in Germany. In addition to being a prolific watch designer, he's also a trained architect and artist. One of Alexander Shorokhov's favorite terms to express his own artistic interest is avant-garde. The Alexander Shorokhov brand is exclusive because it only produces a few thousand watches per year, and yet the company's timepieces start at only about $1,500. Despite modest prices, watches at Alexander Shorokhov are assembled by a single watchmaker who personally signs the performance certificate of each timepiece. Many Alexander Shorokhov watches also feature elaborate hand engraving and decoration, another compelling virtue of the brand rarely found elsewhere at this price point. Thanks to many years of developing fans, most Alexander Shorokhov limited edition products sell out immediately. The brand is, however, still relatively unknown in the United States, as most enthusiasts have yet to discover the Alexander Shorokhov name. Check them out for yourself. Quirky, cool, rare, and always proper timekeepers, Alexander Shorokhov watches are available in limited quantities from select U.S. dealers such as Greddens of Newport in Rhode Island and Right Time in Denver. To learn more, visit the alexander-shorokhov.de website. That's alexander-shorokhov.com. Thanks.
Now, we're going to have a quick look at this watch. Not because, it's a nice watch. It's a nice watch. Ripley, again, you're on a score. You're 3 for 3 at the moment. But I want somebody to pronounce it for me. So, just for the purposes of it, Ripley, can you read this headline?
Oh, yes. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. This is the Breitling Chronomat Giannis Antetokounmpo. The
Well
Greek
done.
freak, as he is known, plays for the Bucks. I have an article that kind of talks about his ethos and some of his favorite watches, and in that article from, I believe it was last year or even the year before, well, in an interview with him, he was asked what his signature Breitling would look like. And at the time, he was wearing a green Chronomat, the one with the dark green dial and red GMT hand, which was kind of just his go-to. And so a couple of things were said. He thought it might have an ice blue dial because like his home country's colors. But here, lo and behold, we have it. It's not one watch. It's technically three, although one's a piece unique just for him. It's the one with the Eastern Arabic dials. But we get the watch that is the solid gold 42 mil Chronomat with the color that's supposed to be emblematic of his of the Bucks. I'm gonna try to get one of these in person and see the color and see if it actually is Bucks colored or if it looks a little too lime green. Whatever. Anyway, I think it's kind of interesting. Breitling has two models for him. One seems like the go-to de facto collaborative anniversary model. It looks very similar to the Super Bowl watch. And then we have one that earnestly feels like a personal choice because this was the watch he was wearing before he had a signature edition and he was just wearing things out of the catalog. It just has a tweaked colorway and a case back engraving.
So just for the uninitiated, so this guy's a basketball player.
Yes, on the Milwaukee
Yes,
Bucks.
right.
Giannis from Greece. He's been a Breitling ambassador for a long time, and he's kind of been between Chronomats and the Navitimer, so it's interesting to see that he's aligned himself with the Chronomat.
I'm with Rick here. At first, when I heard Bucks, I thought he was some type of species of gazelle.
I just say his surname again because that was remarkably well done, Ripley. And I feel you've put a lot of effort into it. It'd be wasted to have you only do it once.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Brilliant.
We could have him on the show and he could say his name for us. That'd be great.
I think what we need to do is, clearly this guy is a Breitling man. And, we know who our local Breitling man is.
We have a Bright man too.
I have a Bright man too. And here's the interesting part. He wears a smaller watch than I do. His signature edition is the Chronomat 41. I've got a 44.
We'll get him up. We'll get him up to 65 eventually.
Yeah.
Leads me to thinking that the best photo we could ever do this year is Ripley. How tall are you?
About 5'10" on a good day.
And how tall is Giannis?
I believe he is 6'11".
6'11". So I think Ripley wearing a large. I think Ripley wearing a larger Breitling than Giannis standing beside each other is just the photo. That should be the aBlogtoWatch Christmas card shot for this year. One thinks.
Well, so, George Kern, make it happen. I'm here to do it anytime you want.
Sylvan, if you're listening, we want to hear from you. What about this? Is this a normal thing for Breitling to do these kind of?
Yeah, so
it doesn't feel like I've seen this Breitling do this very often.
So Breitling, what I kind of like about them is they're a historic Swiss manufacturer, but they do weird collaborations. I only understand 50% of the ones they do. They do things that are notoriously not Swiss, like the American Super Bowl. Doesn't
or the muscle cars, the American muscle cars.
Oh yeah, all of the American muscle cars. Take your pick. Any of the random aircrafts that weren't from Switzerland. But I think that's kind of what makes them interesting in many instances. And otherwise, you're just celebrating anniversaries. So I think it's cool when a brand gives an ambassador a little bit of free range to create their own spin on a product, in the same way that Nike gives Giannis some free range to make his own sneakers. And God knows he's got a ton of his signature shoes out. So I think it's kind of an interesting thing Breitling does. But even as someone who loves Breitling, I only understand 50% of what they do. And there's some watches like the Scottish Highlands where I think they're awesome looking watches, but I've never been to the Highlands, so I can't comment.
Yeah, I have, and they didn't ask me about it, so I object on principle to that watch. There's been no design director. You could just have picked up the phone, Sylvan. You could just have picked up the phone. Anyway, right, let's move on. And I think I'm going to give Ripley 4 out of 4 here, because I think the next thing we're going to look at is... Actually, before we move on, a question about Breitling. is Breitling the most American of Swiss brands? Because just as you're saying about all these collaborations, they all do appear to be very USA focused. Is that something
it's
on
not a
principle?
bad observation. It's I don't know that they would agree to that, but Breitling has one of the longest histories of integration in U.S. marketing and doing things like this. So they've sort of been doing it the longest. They have a high comfort level. They used to tell me that consumers in America thought the brand was American, which would either delight or infuriate the Swiss.
In equal measure, no doubt. Okay, let's give Ripley his fourth installment this morning. Something a bit on the cheaper end. The Casio G-Shock Sunset Glow Watch. I have to say, I really rather quite like these. What's the story behind Sunset Glow, Ripley?
I mean, it's exactly what it is. It's the theme of the collection. It's 3 watches. There's the colors of sunset. It's kind of that gradient pattern that goes from silver to gold. The more interesting thing about these is this is not the smallest version of the Casio, the 2100 series. So we got the full-size version, you've got the mid-size version, and now this is the absolute wee bittiest version, which looks entirely properly sized on my rather svelte wrist right there. But as you can see, because it's so much smaller, it forgoes that little sub-dial at the 9 o'clock location, so you just have the digital screen. But the 2100 series has been such a runaway success for Casio that it's really expanded into kind of, arguably their second most popular model after the classic square. So more sizes simply make sense. And, this is perfect for anyone who thought the other ones were just a little too large.
Yeah, I really quite like this without the subdial, as you say, that's missing. I think it actually makes it look significantly better. I never really liked the subdial.
Ripley, correct me if I'm wrong. This size is mostly the women's collection. Just this one doesn't happen to be colored that way.
Yes, this size is marketed for women. If you're going to look on Casio's website by gender, you'll find this in the women's collection. The other 2 colorways, even that are part of this trio, are far less typically gender neutral, light pinks and purples types of things. So this is kind of the most gender neutral among them, and even then you get the gold accents. But I totally wear this watch. So I think we'll see it expand into more gender neutral offerings in the same way that the original full size 2100 series kind of moved the other way, and we got more gender neutral offerings from these overtly manly designs.
Okay, how do you feel about this? Every time, especially a Japanese brand, says that one of their dials or watches is inspired by nature, it has to come with a haiku. Someone at the headquarters has to write a haiku about this and why this particular inspiration is, I don't know, appealing to them or nice. I will only accept the inspiration. Just come out with a watch otherwise. If you want to say it's inspired by something, I want a haiku.
Put the haiku on the case back. I don't want to see a 35th anniversary emblem. I want to see the haiku on the case.
There you go.
Back. Yeah.
Okay.
And then when someone is like, what do you mean it's the sunset? I can flip it over and read them the haiku.
It's a great idea.
It is a good idea, to be fair. Can anyone think of Japanese watches that are inspired by something that isn't nature? I know they've never done one to a multi-story
Gundam Seikos.
car.
Gundam Seikos were
there's
awesome.
all those anime ones that...
Okay, so excluding anime and nature. This is like, what have the Romans ever done for us? Excluding anime and nature. Excluding anime, nature, cars. What have Japanese watchmakers ever been inspired by?
To be inspired by, let's be honest.
A couple foods, maybe.
Food?
Yeah.
Food. I can't think of any, but maybe.
Well, Seiko had all those cocktail watches.
Yeah, and they had the avocado colorway of the Seiko 5 Sport.
Okay, so
diver.
With the exception of food, cars, nature, and cartoons, what have Seiko ever been inspired by?
Anniversaries.
Katana and like
anniversaries.
Swords.
And like all of Japanese war history.
Okay, so...
Oh yeah, lots of samurai, lots of samurai related. So much samurai, even in Casio's catalog.
So with the exception of samurai, cartoons, nature, cars, food, and
I
samurai
feel like there's
swords.
something that you want them to be inspired by, Rick.
I
Maybe
don't
just
know.
say that.
Yes.
Rick, you just described like
going with
all
this.
facets of my culture. You're just like, take
You're
away
like,
the
it's
That's
the
food,
one
the
thing I
cars, the
want them
people,
to be
the
inspired
samurai.
by.
It turns out that the whole of Japanese watch culture is inspired by Ripley sellers. That's it. They've got a camera and they're just looking into your life, Ripley, and being inspired by you. Any day now, they'll be releasing there'll be like a wolf, a blue watch with like a wolf in the back of it, just being
No,
inspired
you
by
want a
something
watch where the
you saw.
dial is the wall of Ripley. That's what you want. You want that to be the dial of the watch.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I started looooking up Seiko 5 limited editions just on the basis that, I will just find something refreshing. And I see this and it says Seiko 5 Sports Luffy limited edition. And I'm like, wow, that sounds exciting. What is that? It's dedicated to the Japanese anime series. All right. So that just felt spectacularly, of course. I gave it a shot. Nothing on the watch, sad anime or anime-ish or whatever. But
They
there we
made
go. I tried.
they made a G-Shock inspired by the McDonald's Big Mac.
Ooh.
A G-Shock
No way.
inspired. I mean,
Oh,
that's technically that's food, so that's excluded from the conversation.
Oh, yeah,
Coca-Cola
yeah, sorry.
We're on a
G-Shock.
technicality.
Coca-Cola G-Shock, that's a beverage.
And the Budweiser one.
Okay, I've lost the argument. I accept that. They're inspired by lots of things. I accept that.
This is Ariel Adams from aBlogtoWatch with a message from Zodiac Swiss-made watches. Did you know that the historic Zodiac brand just released an in-house GMT mechanical movement? Through their in-group partner STP, that stands for Swiss Technology Production, Zodiac recently introduced an upgraded Super Seawolf GMT watch with their new Caliber STP 7-20 automatic movement. Built in Switzerland, the modern STP 7-20 automatic movement features the local time, a second time zone displayed via a 24-hour GMT hand, and the date. Special features include the use of a silicone escapement for increased performance and environmental resistance. The bold and architectural styling of the Super Seawolf GMT product itself harkens back to Zodiac's history during the 1950s and 1960s as a premier manufacturer of sports activity and professional use wristwatches. Updated for modern expectations featuring world-class performance and durability, the latest Super Seawolf GMT watches come in a few styles and has a 40mm wide steel case. One of the most popular new Super Seawolf GMT automatic watches for 2024 has a stunning pink and white two-tone bezel matched to a legible black dial. Don't miss the iconic rotating bezel design, interchangeable straps, and strong value proposition Zodiac offers for a watch with this feature set. Zodiac Super Seawolf GMT watches start at just under $2,000. To see them for yourself, visit the Zodiac website at zodiacwatches.com.
Okay, before we go on to play Hit Miss, maybe let's give David a shot of a watch that I really rather like. I'm a big fan of these kind of cases. The same way that David is, I believe, the Chopard L.U.C. XPS 1860 Officer Vendome 1 watch. If they put 1860 on it, David, does this mean technically they're trying to celebrate an anniversary without saying they're celebrating an anniversary?
Yes.
It's like, tell me you love me without saying you love me.
Yes, in a way. Yeah, I mean that's when Chopard was founded. I think it's kind of a cool watch. A lot of neat little details, like the beehive pattern on the dial and on the case back. That goes way back with the brand. And I quite like it when a brand has its own pattern and it's not super made up, just a little made up. And it sort of resonates with the Schäufele's and also with the founder of Chopard was also a beekeeper. So it goes way back into like the mid 1800s, which I thought was kind of cool. You flip this, so officer style case means that it's a double case back. So the first one is solid gold and it's hinged, and you press on the crown and it just flips it open. And once you turn it out, once you flip it open, it reveals the movement, which is also very cool. It's a very classy way of protecting the movement. And having basically two case backs, you get to enjoy a solid gold case back that is engraved on the inside with the image of Louis XIV. And I went the extra mile to look up his full title, which is Louis XIV, by the grace of God, most Christian King of France and Navarre, Count of Provence, Chocasier or something like that, and the lens adjacent, Dauphin of Vienna, Count of Valentinois, and of the And it's like, once you look that up, I want that engraved like right next to that. And he also called himself the Sun King. So this is another way to spend $40,000 on a watch and feel inadequate. You open
that title more or less explains the French Revolution.
The actual Sun King is looking at you whenever you're checking your movement. I'm like, all right.
I like that, Ariel. Ways to explain the French Revolution. If they go, there's a name that explains why it all happened.
All of it. You just take that name and imagine the people being like, wait, what? We have to kill all these folk. No one should have that many names.
It backfired spectacularly. Let's put it that way.
I do think these. I'm familiar to. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my nomenclature is wrong about thinking of these as being hunter casebacks. But it does strike me that this would be a really easy way for a number of brands to bring something new to their watches. I do wonder why more brands don't do this, because it is super cool.
There should be many more.
If you don't make them out of gold, then it's presumably actually quite cheap to do. It's not going to be an expensive thing to do if it's just a friction lock on it. But I really do quite like this.
Yeah, and the entire watch is still 7.7 millimeters thick, even with a double case back. So it's doable. It's not going to be a big Mac G-Shock on your wrist.
Notice that even at the high end, hunter-style casebacks are quite rare. So yes, they're mostly all gold, but they're very uncommon, which leads me to believe that maybe they're not meant to be open and closed a lot, or they're sort of fragile. They're obviously quite historic. They were there for very practical reasons, because you needed to have a hard shell and then you opened it up to like have the glass that was fragile. You want to look through it like on a pocket watch. There's a lot of reasons why you want to have them. They're novelty features. Now, I agree that they're cool, but I wonder if there's some type of practical or industrial reason why they're not that common.
Okay, well, go and check out David's article, and if you wish to spend $40,000 of your hard-earned dollars, then maybe that is something worth consideration. We are now going to play Hit Miss Maybe. Not sure how this is going to go, because you don't know that we're playing it a bit early in our recording day. We'll see who turns up for it, but let's check some people into the room. Okay, we welcome to the show Rob and Guy, but let's do as is tradition and go around the room, find out who everybody is, where they are, and what they are or indeed are not wearing. Let's start with David. David, where are you? What are you or are you not wearing? Because you're not in your own house.
I'm in Budapest and I'm wearing a watch.
A watch? Yes, a watch.
And it's in for the cost of entry series that we're doing, where we're looking at the cheapest watches offered by any particular big brand. And this is the IWC Pilot's Watch 41 Mark 20 on a leather strap. Yeah, so really nice. Coming up.
And their lowest price of entry is what?
Oh, I will have to look it up. Around 5K.
Around 5K. 5K to get in the room. Ariel, you're in the room, but which room and what are you wearing in it?
Same room I'm always in. I'm wearing today an older Franck Muller with a bi-retro seconds.
Very nice.
Two of them.
Very nice. Cool. Ripley, not wearing a Beauvais, not wearing a Zodiac. At least I don't think he is. Still sitting in front of a wall. But what are you wearing?
I am wearing the Maurice Lacroix Label Noir Masterpiece Skeleton. 288-piece collaboration. This is a watch that they've had around for more than a decade, but it doesn't currently exist in the catalog. So this is the Label Noir version, which is all blacked out.
Now, Ripley, we need to have a word here. You've just expertly pronounced the name of a basketball player for a Breitling review, and yet you can't pronounce Maurice Lacroix. So let's try that again. Maurice Lacroix, not Lacroix. Lacroix. No, come on. Practice makes perfect.
No, Rick. I say my pronunciations for Greek basketball players.
Exactly. And very well you did with it. Rob, most difficult watch brand to pronounce?
Whatever.
Well, yeah, I'll give you ever. Like, go for it. Or current watch brand.
Rick, if I start pronouncing this LaCroix, then I'm going to be at the store asking for carbonated water, and the guy's not going to know what I mean. Like, I need to keep pronouncing this LaCroix for my own sanity at the supermarket.
That's fair enough.
I used to struggle with Breguet when I was younger, believe it or not. I thought it was Breguet. But
I don't hold on. When you were younger, what were you trying to pronounce watch brands when you were 3 or 4? I don't understand. How young exactly?
I'm talking 21 years ago when I started.
Right.
No, so it's long enough. But I had the soft G beaten out of me, so yeah, I'm all good now. Yeah,
very good. Well, where are you, Rob, and what are you wearing?
I'm in Dresden, in Germany, in my office, and I'm wearing Arcanaut Arc 2 4-die linear.
And where is Dresden near, Rob?
Dresden's near the Czech border, but it's near Berlin and Glasgow. Oh, Glasgow!
It's always a bonus when you have to explain a person's own joke to them. There we go. Glasgow. Guy, good morning. Where are you and what are you wearing?
Good morning. I'm on the sunny south coast. I'm wearing the updated design of the watch that you have, which is the
cool. Which I still have.
The Midnight Sky, which you now have, but now it's one of one, the one that you have.
Oh, is that right? Well, I'm definitely not sending it back then.
The production ones all have a little white dot on the logos in white,
okay.
so yours is the only one.
Oh, well, I mean,
like that.
I'll need to buy this one. Like, let's say 30 years from now, when D-Trash Watch is the biggest watch brand in the world, and I'll have the one with the effectively the dot over 90. Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, cool. Good.
Good watches
right.
today. By the way, David, I love that IWC. I absolutely love that, and I quite like this idea of entry rate, like looking at all the entry rates.
Oh, cool! Thank you.
Yeah,
well, I think that's a great watch.
Good stuff. Well, let's look at 2 entry range watches that Ariel reviewed. These were trailed a little bit last week, I think, by Ripley. 2 fun men's and women's, and we'll let you guys be the judge of that. Rainbow fashion watches from Philipp Plein. This does feel like we're becoming the Philipp Plein show somewhat, but I thought these would be quite fun to play hit miss maybe on. Ariel, give us a little tour of these watches.
I don't even know where to start. Okay, so Timex makes the watches for them, and Philipp Plein basically has the creative side. Like, they decide what they want, and this is what they want. They basically want to have these crazy emulations of Pateks and Hublots and Richard Milles and things like that. What fascinates me is how much they're selling. This represents current market success, and I believe that this will get people into other watches. So I find it interesting to cover what they're doing. I think that eventually Mr. Plein will decide to get more original, meaning not just sort of do these copycat stuff, but he's making a fashion play on pretty serious timepieces for a mainstream audience that actually will use this to learn about the Aquanaut. Won't know about the Aquanaut on their own ever, but will look at this and be like, that's cool, and then eventually get into high-end pieces. So, you know, it's a few $100. It's not too much. These aren't bad watches by any means. You know, Ripley has been to one of the events with me. These are not enthusiast watches, but these are watches that could make someone later eventually an enthusiast. And again, they're selling. And I remember like Michael Kors was selling really well. And none of us here were probably into Michael Kors, but it was having a real impact on the consumer market, which is important for us to know because that will translate into a lot of other things like watches that, you know, more high-end brands do. So that's basically what you're seeing here. But I don't want to suggest that these are, even though the men's is an automatic, I wouldn't suggest that these are enthusiast watches. They're supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be fashion. Those are the operative terms.
Okay, fun and fashion, but is it a hit, a miss, or a maybe? 1, 2, 3, go. Hit, maybe, misses. Hit, yeah, a variety. I gave it a hit because it's fairly cheap. And this versus a MoonSwatch to do the same thing as introducing folk to watches. Get one of these. Get one of these. These are funner. More fun is to be found here. David, why is it a miss?
I just thought that, you know, that sort of taste should be represented since it's going to be an overwhelming response from the community, and I thought, you know, let's just throw it in there for once.
Good stuff. Ariel, how did you vote?
Look, I would not wear every single Philipp Plein watch, but if you look at the variety of them, I'd say most watch lovers would be like, that's a fun watch I'd wear once in a while. So the women's watch here is actually my favorite. You know, I think it's done nicely. It's not very expensive. It's got the colors on there. It's really just a great women's watch. It fits into exactly what a lot of customers want. The men's one, gotta love skulls, right? That's where for me is the sort of I'm not sure about this one, but like it is genuinely fun to wear. And I'm actually excited. I'm like waiting for an opportunity to wear this. And all of us here have had some watch that's so sort of like niche. You don't know when that opportunity is going to be. But you're waiting. It's like, I want someplace. So the moment I can wear the black rainbow bezel skull watch, I have the product for it. I don't know what that occasion is, but I have the watch for it.
Ripley, how did you vote?
I said maybe. I'd love to see these in the metal to get a good sense for the quality, but I've seen enough of their other pieces that, like, if you like what they're putting down from a design perspective and think it's fun, you could do a lot worse in terms of where, getting something that's going to just provide a lot of fun for the price. And as Ariel mentioned, these aren't for the diehard enthusiasts. To the contrary, it's really the opposite. But as a gateway drug or something that's just fun. I mean, if you like skulls, I think it's it's not a miss in any capacity. I think it's a hit if you like it. If you don't, look at elsewhere in the catalog. But I think it's interesting what the brand's doing, and it'll be really interesting to see what happens when they get a little bit more unique with their designs, because they do have the capacity to do almost anything they want.
Why did they have the capacity to do anything? Is this guy just got all the money in the world? I still don't know who Philipp Plein is. I still don't get it.
Well, what I mean is that Timex Luxury Group is their manufacturer, right? So what I'm saying is they could have an entirely unique design. They could have something which is just emulatory. I mean, Timex actually wants these to be more original. They're watch designers. They don't want to do things that are derivative. They're sort of listening to the fashion person, and it turned out that these are very sellable. So I think that Timex is going to push them in the direction. But what I mean by anything he wants is that, in terms of creativity or even price point, it's really whatever direction he wants to go in, they will make the products. It's beholden to the Plein empire to sell them.
And I was going to say, what I mean by whatever he wants is that he's not just a watch brand. This is just one vertical within a large, multifaceted kind of fashion lifestyle company. So not every model needs to be an absolute smashing success. This isn't one guy's passion project where every single model needs to largely sell to fund the next project. He can be adventurous, and the fact that we've got this selling for like $300 and something with the rainbow glass gem set. Ariel, what are they? Whatever's in the bezel. But like the fact that this is like $300 and he's got like whatever that subscription like flying tourbillon is, like, I love that diversity.
Oh, by the way, let me remind everyone, the watches are like amongst the least expensive things that you can buy from the brand. Their tennis shoes and t-shirts in many instances are more expensive.
Oh, way more expensive, like $5,000 gem encrusted sneakers, and then it's like $350 for the gem encrusted watch.
Rob, you tempted by either the sneakers or the watch?
No, neither really. And both actually to do with the price. Not that I wouldn't buy a watch for under $500, but I think that I've just moved away from being that interested in that area of the industry. But like Ariel says, there's no reason why these couldn't be the starting point for somebody that wants something a bit more exciting. And for me, what maybe adds the value here is, well, the design is totally subjective, but the execution of the pieces, like with Timex behind them, is likely going to be quite a bit better than other things you would expect to get at that price point. So yeah, I think there's a place for it. It's not a place in my watch box, but more luck to them.
Guy, how did you vote?
Oh, 100% solid miss. I think they are just, I think that I have a real issue. I don't need to put gemstones on men's watches, and I can die.
David, fight him. Come on, fight.
But I don't. And I slightly disagree with Ariel, but I don't think they're people trying to get into watches. I think they're like people trying to like cosplay as Andrew Tate and like look cool on Instagram. And which is not the kind of person I want to be around. And I just think if you want to get into what, like the gateway drug is, there are some good gateway drugs out there at the right price. But even like things like Unimatic and Echo Neutra are all at that price that make really nice watches that like you could wear over a long period of time. This is going to be in landfill in a year. But I do agree with Ariel about skulls. I'm a big fan of skulls.
So wait a minute. Are you saying that eventually there will be a D-Trash watch made out of an old Philipp Plein if it's in the landfill?
I mean, that could actually happen.
This is good for you. This is raw materials to work with.
When we see a D-Trash with a gem set bezel, we'll know where it came from.
I do really want to make a rubber strap watch, but I can't find a way of doing it out of things that have been thrown away. So when enough people throw these away, I could just take the straps and they're already done.
We could just send you straps. If we send it to you, it's technically trash. The fact that it says Panerai on it, or Breitling.
We can put some banana peels in the bag if it helps.
We can actually make them out of apple cores. I have some made out of apple cores, which are amazing, which is weird.
And if you throw them on the ground, you get an apple tree?
No, do you guys not know about apple leather? Apple leather is an amazing material made out of discarded apples from like cider production and apple juice production.
I'm just not sure why we're using the term leather. Let's call it something else.
I want to get you one. Do you want to get? Well, at the end, I will show you one, and it looks and feels like leather. But yeah, it's better than calling it pleather, which was the plastic leather version.
David, tell Guy why he's wrong about gem set watches for men.
One of the reasons why I like gem set watches is the quality of the physical quality of the stones. I don't care about the status, but I do care about the things that they do with light. As a photographer, I really enjoyed that, the facets and all that, and the way that they can be set very precisely. It's technically sort of like a movement, but something that you can actually see and touch, and that's what I like about them.
David says that what he really means is it makes him look like a baller when he's walking down the street with a full gem set Hublot on. That's right. It just
do you run around to the girls and be like, check out my craftsmanship?
Oh no, I can't see now. Too much glitter.
Okay, we'll go and check out those Philipp Plein watches. I'd be really interested in your comments and feedback. Go to the show notes or go on to Spotify if you're listening. Remember, if you do listen to us on Spotify, you can also watch the video. Next up then in Hit Miss Maybe is this from Hublot. I don't understand it, but Ripley is going to explain the Hublot Arsham droplet pocket watch and desk clock. Since he's wearing a Beauvais hat, who are known for, transforming their watches into all sorts of other things. This is Hublot's attempt at it. Is it, Ripley?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting thing that they've done here. Someone, I forget which account it was on Instagram, made the put up a picture of this next to that like whiteout dispenser thing, which bears a shocking resemblance from just a color and shape perspective.
Oh my god, it really does.
Yeah, with the little tape, right? The little whiteout tape.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Both of them highly ergonomic in the
one
hand.
Of these?
There you go.
Yeah, the ones that aren't all blue.
You're 50% of the way there. Yeah, now it just needs to tell the time.
One of the brands
stop
makes
sharing
one.
the screen, so if you're on the video, you can now see my Tipex pocket mouse. I have had this sitting here all week and haven't noticed, but yes, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, and one of the brands even does one where their colors are all clear with green bits, so it's really, really similar. Anyway, the artist, the Daniel Arsham's done this as his collaboration with Hublot. It uses it's a pocket watch and a pendant. Comes with two different types of change, and then it can also get mounted into this desk clock thing that magnifies it to be used as a table clock. It's titanium and sapphire largely. The mineral glass magnifying bubble is what's on the desk clock. The chains are all titanium, and internally it uses the Mecha 10 movement, but rather than being in like a Big Bang, you now get it in pocket watch form. But it's very much more of an art piece as the collaborator is an artist. But it's definitely different from Hublot. It is not a Big Bang.
Okay, let's give it a hit, a miss, or a maybe on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'll give it a hit then. Hits, maybes. No misses, just maybes. David, why is it a maybe?
I'm so confused. Part of me is
that's my problem. Yeah,
is borderline appalled by it. It just looks like an internal organ or something. I'm really not sure. It's really weird, but I do like the magnifying glass sort of display. That's very, very cool. I'm happy that it exists, and it's a very reasonable $88,000. So what more do you want?
Yeah, when you get to a certain age, magnifying glasses become more and more relevant, David. It has to be said.
Yes.
Ariel, hit miss maybe?
I was a maybe. I mean, look, it's going to be cool quality, and I love that Hublot does these sort of weird avant-garde things. This is definitely the type of thing that gets press. People wonder, would I wear this? Do I like it? It asks a lot of the right questions, and I think it's the right thing for them to do. I personally don't find it very pretty. I find this guy's logo on the back to make has no cohesion with this sort of organic design. The name of the watch reminds me of Arkham Asylum and Batman, and this just looks like a weird type of prop from a movie that a Batman villain would have, and I'm just wondering what this prop in a movie would do. So it's kind of spacey like that. It's definitely not going to win any beauty contest. And you could even tell that Hublot, in this picture right here, that's the best they could artistically feature it. I don't even know what they're trying to do there, this weird thing that sits on top of a mountain but under a mountain, or what's going on there. So I think that I think something like this needs to be a little bit prettier and a little bit more cohesive. But again, we're all in agreement probably that we like that Hublot is doing stuff like this.
It does appear that they have managed to keep the USB.
And how does Beauvais feel about this, by the way? Beauvais already done all this.
Yeah. Now, if they'd actually put a USB charger in this one, a wee thing just there in the bottom. Maybe
that is actually the brand's one-click strap changing system. So rather than having the buttons on the lugs, it's the same one-click system. You just press the two sides and you can swap out the chains or desk clock unit. Chain.
Brilliant. I don't know. Maybe maybe I'm about to step on some personal issues here. Maybe I'm about to insult you personally, but there was a certain kind of individual at school and university who would wear all their keys around a chain, a carabiner on their jeans with no belt. This just gives me that kind of freakiness.
So just out of curiosity, where's the insult? That was a character. What's the insult?
Just that it was weird that you would carry all your keys around with you on the outside.
Because they wore very tight pants. If you tried to put that many keys in your pocket in tight pants, it's not easy.
They'd be wearing all the keys they owned, as if having more keys for things was somehow a show of...
Well, these people obviously misplace things very easily, which is why they have to attach it to their body.
But they might lose their trousers.
Or
pants. Or
then
something.
They're really screwed, okay? Then they have bigger problems.
Anyway, right, who have we not heard from? Ripley, have we heard from you? I can't remember where we are.
Yeah, no, I said it's a hit. I think it's interesting. Well, I like it because I think it's cool that Hublot's just doing something different and very different, just not making a watch. But I also appreciate that Daniel Arsham himself is doing something a bit different. For those who don't know who he is, I'm not too familiar with his work, but he's the guy who does those it's famous characters and things like Pokemon where part of it's eroded away like a geode with crystals growing in the eroded part. There's an enormous version of this of Pokemon statues outside the Standard Highline in New York, the hotel there. But you see his stuff all over the place, and this is in a very different direction from him, more of his interior design language, where rather than it being kind of like a pop culture play within this kind of faux aged aesthetic, it's these really organic forms. So it's different from him than what we're used to. It's different from Hublot. It's different, and I'm going to just support it for being different and for being an $88,000 thing that looks like a tape dispenser. I kind of love that.
Rob, this or the Hodinky travel clock?
Oh, wow. If I could have them at the same price, I'd take this one for sure. Yeah, it's an easy choice, but I mean, it's Hublot being Hublot, right? As Ariel said, it's equal parts appalling, bewitching, engaging, exciting, a bit ridiculous. I mean, I see that company as the Formula One of the watch industry. They do stuff that isn't really relevant to the masses, but people see it, they're inspired by it, they take things from it, and the developments they make shouldn't be underestimated. So, yeah, I gave it a hit because it's totally on brand, it's wacky, and it looks well executed.
Good stuff, Guy. What did you vote?
Oh, a hit. I really like it. I think it's nice. It's nice that they put a bit of colour into it. I love the colours that they've used. It's kind of stupid, but it's, you guys always gripe about people just doing special release watches all the time, and that's it. And I think this is, they've clearly done it just to get press coverage. But it's a nice thing to do to get press coverage and be a little bit different to the brand. And it's not really about people buying this. It's just about exposing the brand to more people and showing some creativity, and I'm a big fan of creativity.
Good stuff. Well, we've gone from one pendant watch. Yes, that would be the appropriate thing to say. We'll go to another that we spoke about last week. We have not actually covered this on a blog to watch, but David was begging for this to be covered. Regrettably, the only place we can find decent coverage and photographs that we stand a likelihood of being able to use is on the Only Watch channel. So here we go. This is the Richard Mille Talisman Origine.
Oh my God.
David, you were the one that asked for this, so I'm handing this over to you to tell us what on earth it is I'm looking at.
I don't know either what you're looking at, because it's I only saw glimpses of it, because when it was announced, it was just a drawing. So this is now the first time that we see actual pictures of this incredible thing. It's wow. Technically, it's a Richard Mille watch that looks like it's made out of wood, and it's hanging off a necklace of sorts. And yeah, it's quite out there. Talk about a great exercise for Only Watch.
Yeah, I love the description. It was with extreme caution that watchmakers at Richard Mille began to analyze the shamanic relic.
Wow.
Could they make it sound any more Indiana Jones? You know, somewhere there's Nazis with their faces melting. Watchmakers.
This means you didn't see there was a big tease campaign about them actually kind of discovering this as an archaeological phenomenon that was all in the build-up.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
No, didn't see that. Okay, well, you've seen what you've seen. Is it a hit? Is it a miss? Or is it a maybe? It's a miss for me. Hit. Oh, hit for everybody else. See, I've given this a miss because it's like the Hublot, but there's no humour to it. It's just not, it just doesn't take itself far too seriously.
Humor? I've been laughing at it since you pulled a photo up.
Yeah, there's laughing at it, but you're not it's like, we're not laughing at you, we're not laughing with you, we're laughing somewhere near you, as the phrase goes. Yeah, taking itself far too seriously. David, though, why is it a hit?
Oh, I think it's epic. I think it looks very cool. It's just a novel take on whatever it is that they've been doing. It's just like, shall we make it pendant? Yes. What should it be? Like a talisman or like a shamanic relic? Okay, great. And then they just do it. That's the vibe I'm getting. And it's like, it's such a free-flowing thing that I really appreciate it.
Does this, as the advert says, Ariel, transcend the conventional concept of a wristwatch?
Well, it's not a wristwatch, so sure.
That's a very, very astute observation there.
So they've got this, I guess it's sort of an African style, if you really want to call it that. And other than the older Gerald Genta Geffica, there really aren't that many watches that take the artistic tradition from sub-Saharan Africa and put into a watch. This is the first timepiece that scares me. I don't want to mess with the person wearing this. If I saw someone come in this room, all the silliness would subside. I'd be like, I'm deathly afraid of this person. They might have some weird powers. I'm actually I'm somewhat perturbed by this object. It's cool, but it's somehow terrifying to me. Maybe because it looks like a prop from so many horror movies I grew up seeing. So it is sort of it's not funny in that sense, but it is like an insane thing. And this is what Only Watch was meant to be for. For me, it was making something insane that would have no marketability. And in the past, Richard Mille has totally been lazy. They're like, oh, this is one of the prototypes we made for Nadal. Let's sell it, right? Like, that's not making something interesting or new. This is the exact opposite of that. They're using this to get feedback. Is this sort of like African style art? Are we going to get traction with that? This whole idea of wearing it around the neck. We know that, what was it? Taylor Swift, I think, wore some timepiece necklace. Look, the watch brands, they would love for this to be a thing like, a new product category that we can put expensive movements into. We're all about that. All of us in this conversation know that the pendant watch is going to be about as popular as Bovet's ever been able to make it, right? Like, that's as far as it's going to go. But as they're trying to, again, as Guy said, get media attention, get people talking about them, what a brilliantly left field thing to do. We're talking about it. It scares me. It delights some of you. Some of you, it's hilarious. That's all the emotion is supposed to bring out. And one person out there will have this insane thing and scare all the guests at parties.
Well, Ripley, seems only appropriate we speak to the Beauvais fanboy in the room.
Yes. Well, I think this thing's amazing. I think it's just absolutely hilarious. It's impressive. It is undeniably different. I cannot envision the outfit that needs to be crafted around this to make it look organic.
Oh,
but,
yes, you do. You imagining it right now.
Have you never been to the Lion King production?
Yeah, well, I mean, you grow wings to start, so like, and maybe a trident might work with the vibe or something. But I love it. Like, I mean, like Ariel said, only watch is boring when the brands just create like the precursor to what becomes a commercially available item. It's really fun when you see them create something that should really only exist as a piece unique, because they're not going to sell 100,000 units of them. And so this is exactly that, because I would be happily own it, but I know this is definitely not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah. Rob, happily own it.
Yeah, although I'm trying to work out which would be harder, either accruing the money to buy it or getting in good enough shape to wear it shirtless, which I think is kind of the only way you can do it. Maybe with a leather waistcoat, which I don't own, despite rumours yet. Like Ariel said, look, I love the look of it. I think it's insane, but I would not touch it. I believe it to be cursed, and I think it has bad juju. But I really, really think it's amazing. I'm glad that they did it. I think this is much more ambitious even than the previous piece we saw from Hublot. I think, as Ariel said, also Richard Mille had a tendency to be a bit lazy when it came to these, opportunities to really take the gloves off. And the interesting thing for me is I've been banging on about pocket watches being, primed for a return because of smartwatches. Well, now we have a very modern fob watch or a pendant watch, to take its place. Maybe this is something which will catch on. I love it.
Guy, you inspired to have this catch on in the world of D-Trash?
No, but I do love it. And I do think, because I think you missed the whole campaign around the start, and they did genuinely do it with a sense of humor. Like, there was a big sense of humor about this cover. And I just said, well, this was my comment last week about the black boring RM. Like, there's no point in a black boring RM. Like, if you're going to spend £1 million on a watch, like, it's got to be out there. And this is out, I love the smiley face RM. That's the only one I really like. And this is the kind of that on steroids. They've just gone big on, let's make this ridiculous. And like, if you're going to make a one of one for an auction and you're a brand that is kind of out there anyway, this is exactly what you should do.
Okay, well, that leads us only to one conclusion, which is we need to play Guess the Price of the Richard Mille Talisman Original, that what it actually sold for at Only Watch. It was badged to go for between 600 and 800,000 Swiss francs. David, how much does it actually go for?
1.5 million.
1.5 million. Ariel, how much did this watch actually sell for?
Oh, geez. 2 million.
2 million. Ripley, any advance on 2, higher or lower?
I'd say a little bit under, maybe like 1.8.
1.8. Rob, less than 1.8 million. It was badged for 600,000. Rob's got his thinking face on.
I reckon it went over 2, at least 2. I'll say 2.3.
2.3. And Guy?
Didn't you guys do a podcast about how most of the watches all sold at about exactly their asking price?
A number of them did this year, yes. They seemed strangely suspicious. One bid just around the asking price.
Yeah. So I'm going to say 800,000 based on listening to your podcast alone.
800k. Well, that will teach you to listen to our podcast, because this watch realised 2.38 million Swiss francs. So wow. Rob was the closest. Well done, Rob.
Not even high enough.
Not even high enough. So there we go. Within 80 grand of the actual price. So yeah, the world has truly gone mad.
And
the money has been cleansed through the power.
And that is the power of the power of the talisman has been realized for its money laundering skills. And that is the bad juju that Rob was talking about.
Right?
The power of this pendant to clean your money. You just swish the cash over the top of it, and lo and behold, it comes out clean.
All right.
Allegedly. Anyway, right, that's it for this week. Thank you all very much for listening. Do send us in any thoughts or comments, podcasts at aBlogtoWatch.com. Do leave us notes on the show notes, on the website, on the YouTube channel, or on Spotify, iTunes, or however you listen to the podcast. It's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from all of these guys. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Jim.